So Alex Griswold of the Washington Free Beacon had noted that Wendy Davis, a former state senator from Texas, in a op-ed at Cosmopolitan magazine, had written about women being disproportionately affected by guns in America. She said now they're leading the fight for gun control, arguing that gun control was a feminist issue, said that it doesn't take too much digging to see that women are uniquely vulnerable to and disproportionately the victims of gun violence. Alex Griswold says, actually, statistics show that men are far more likely than women to be the victims of gun violence. In 2015, the gun homicide rate for men, 19.3 for every 100,000 Americans. By contrast, he says the rate for women was 6 times lower at 3.2 per 100,000 people. On the one hand, Laura, I don't. It seems kind of weird to get into a fight about statistics, but on the other hand, it's indicative of how this debate plays out time and time again, where the facts take a back seat to emotions.
Yeah, right. And I would say first, women shouldn't get their political news from Cosmo. Maybe their makeup advice, their dating advice, something like that. But you're right. It almost seems like we shouldn't have to respond to numbers that aren't accurate. But just like we saw with Tina Fey on Saturday Night Live, the huge percentage of people who think that Sarah Palin actually said, "I can see Russia from my house," when it was actually Tina Fey on Saturday Night Live, we actually do have to go out and correct this because it gets into the pop culture. And I spend a little bit of time on Twitter, and you see these things. People will post Cosmopolitan articles like this and say you're X times more likely as a woman to be killed with a firearm if you have one in your house. They post things like this as if they're true, and maybe it's a little piece of something that was in a study, but not the whole thing, which would completely change what the study actually means. So it's disappointing that this stuff keeps coming out, and that's why it's important to have a show like yours where we can actually talk about the facts.